There can be a lot of weight around even the word mentoring, and kind of daunting to even get into, okay,
Yep.
what am I a mentee and am I a mentor? Doesn't matter. How do I even get started?
Yep.
It could be pretty look like an uphill battle. So this was networking and mentoring, and we talked about mentoring because you and I both sort of have experience and strong opinions here, right?
Right.
So I started off with a thought because there can be a lot of weight around even the word mentoring, and kind of daunting to even get into, okay,
Yep.
what am I a mentee and am I a mentor? Doesn't matter. How do I even get started?
Yep.
It could be pretty look like an uphill battle, but it really, not that this helps at all, but it could be anything you want it to be, what you need it to be, when you need it. They're all the things. So that kind of launches into the important first step is understanding what is it that you're looking for, what type of relationship.
So it's interesting you went that direction. It's interesting you went that direction because what from in the intro section of how to build mentoring, I put where I can go and talk through things. And I left it open-ended there because of the fact that, I want to make sure that, to me, a mentor or a mentorship is actually where I'm able to soundboard. And maybe maybe I'm the mentor and I'm soundboarding an idea. Hey, I think I did this when I was building my career. And then if I'm a mentee, I want to be able to, should I try this? And let me go ahead and verbalize this. And so where I can go and learn and talk through things, and learning happens on both sides, and talking through things happens on both sides. So that's kind of where I went.
I like that. And then I went to more tactical, right? How do you even get started? Which kind of makes sense between the two of us, which is fine.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that, so go learn and talk through things, which can be, how formal do you want it?
Yeah.
Right. Because mentoring.
And maybe that's part of it. Maybe I want to learn how to be more formal. Maybe I want to learn how to have a conversation with an executive. And I remember my first mentor session with the VP of sales of Latin America, big title. And, I got paired up with him and I said, I'm here I am. Here's me. Here are the things that I want people to know about me. And where do you think I could evolve, or who do you think I should visit with? And now I already had this plan in the back of my head. And my thing with anytime you sit down with somebody is, if it's the first one, introduce yourself. Here's who I am. Who do you think I can learn from? And then let it go from there. Let the other person on the other side go. And that's how I start. That was a VP. I would probably do the same thing, a little less formal, with somebody that's not a VP.
Yeah. And you've been in organizations where they also have mentoring programs created, right? So
yes
and no. Right.
So yes, it's created, as in there is an appetite for it and two people end up together. So it's kind of a forced thing. And the problem with those is that if you're in corporate America, hey, we're going to do this mentor thing. Hey, here's who you're paired with. And that's it. Like, I don't know that they give you something to work off of. And so that's difficult. If you've never ever done it before and you're meeting somebody for the first time, mentoring, that's hard too.
Yeah.
Now, the other mentorships that I've been in just kind of happen naturally. Hey, I'm going to call you every month. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry or not sorry, depending.
And my whole purview is not so corporate America.
Right.
Right. And so my experience in it is with, start out in radio stations, really small, not necessarily a place you're going to in the 80s, not necessarily where you're looking for
Right.
mentors, unless you want them high on weed or whatever, which is fine in and of itself. So
Not
whatever.
that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. And then moving to really small environments, to even starting my own company, and then what that looks like. So the things that my purview of mentoring is even a little bit different from the not so corporate America
Right.
version of things, which is why it's sort of like, how do I even go out and find somebody? I don't necessarily have somebody at my company. My company doesn't have it.
Right.
There are programs out there. How do I, can I get my company to sponsor me? I'm really interested. I don't even know what mentoring is. What are the options? And so there's almost so many more questions than anything else. Probably why it's led me to sort of that version of that question.
So let me ask you this question. You as the mentee, what do you want to get out of a mentorship? Or let me rephrase that. What did you want to in your first couple, and what is it now?
As a mentee?
Yeah.
Well, generally speaking, I would think as a young professional mentee, it was really all about the job and the proficiencies of creating the work I was doing, and how if my relationships with my manager was more transactional, and these are things we need to do and those we need to get done. And even back those days, we were busy and moving fast. So there wasn't a moment really to say, okay, well, why are we doing this? Or what is the bigger strategy? Because I wasn't in the strategy discussions as a young professional.
Right.
And even as a young professional, you need that really strategic insight to, no matter what industry you're in, why am I doing the job I'm doing? It makes so much more sense. So I was missing that piece that I felt I needed in order to grow and understand more. The more you understand, the faster you grow. And is what I found. What about you? What was your
So I like what you said there, because you're like, I wanted to know the bigger picture strategy. We were so transactional. We were moving, right? And I don't know that I saw the end of the tunnel. I was just going, just one foot in front of the other kind of thing, and doing what I was supposed to do. I think that's what I missed when I first started in mentor sessions. Is I just used them as, I don't know, maybe introduction point, maybe more like networking, and I didn't take the opportunity to glean knowledge. I did have a mentor session probably 3 years into my career with somebody whose last name was sales director, and probably the highest title I'd ever met with, and literally gave me 15 minutes while he was eating a bowl of soup, because that's all the time he had to eat lunch. And that's kind of where I learned the go talk to so-and-so.
Yeah.
And so what it ended up happening in those first couple of mentor sessions is I learned what I should come prepared with on accident, right? And so that's actually where so the conversation was, I want to take the next step in my career, and here's what I do. And he's like, well, what have you seen so far? And I was like, nothing. And he's like, well, why don't you go take a look at an operational role, since you're in sales? Why don't you go take a look at some type of uber technical role, since you're in face-to-face sales, you're not on the technical side. And that was the action item that I ended up with there. And so if you listen to what I just said a second ago, I went with, here's who I am, who are the 3 people I need to talk to. And that was literally how that got built, was an accidental 15-minute over a cup of soup meeting.
And that's important. I think the easy question as a young professional is, how do I get to the next step? How do I get promoted? How do I whatever? And really looking at, is that the right question? Because also as a young professional, you're still trying to figure out what you want to do. So I love that point that you're saying about him mentioning to you, well, go see the other things, or what are the opportunities, what else is out there. In my world, in an agency where we have lots of clients in lots of different industries, it's like that for me, even though I'm 30 years into my career, because I'll take all the learnings from this client, this industry, whatever, and it applies in ways that you don't even think. And career paths are very much like that. They build on each other. And I think it helps you stay enriched to kind of understand what different opportunities that are out there, and not even necessarily that, you're job hunting or whatever. That's less the point of, kind of turning the question on its head. How do I advance my career? It said, what is out there that I can even think about? Because that's what's motivating.
Right. So let's button this up. Let's put three pins in this conversation and call it the takeaway. My first pin, and I think you reiterated this, is go visit with a mentor to understand what you don't know and what's out there. And so that would be one pin that I would take away with that. And probably in our call to action series, we should go through, here's some examples of how to do that.
Yeah.
What pin would you throw in it?
You don't necessarily know who a mentor is going to be. It doesn't even necessarily need to be someone who's more senior, but somebody who does something different than you do. And actually very different from what you do is okay. It might even be better in some instances. So not to be open-minded about who even you're seeking to be a mentor.
Gotcha. The last thing I would throw out is go in with an easy plan, something that's repeatable, and that you're comfortable with. And so obviously in my case, who are you, what do you do, is how I open. And then who are the three people that I want to talk to? That's my plan. And then knowing that my follow-up beyond that is then, okay, last time we talked, I said this, you asked me, and I asked for this, and you told me to go meet with these three people. I've met with two. So I already have a talk track for the next one. And so go in with an easy plan that's attainable, and that helps break the ice and build rapport. Your turn. Put a bow on it.
Put a bow on it. That they're important in all aspects of your career, not just, we've talked about early career, but I'm learning new things literally every day. That keeps me energized in what I do professionally and carries over into my personal life. But I'm actually more clear now about what I don't know, either as a business owner or as this professional going into their, next season of strategic direction. So I'm more clear and comfortable, by the way, with what I don't know. And I also know I have lots of years of experience to impart. So this is a journey that's not just how to get me promoted. This is about really fulfilling yourself in lots of ways by having really interesting conversations and meeting some excellent people.